This is Whitley Strieber, and this is Dreamland. You have reached the edge of the world. Today, we're going on a journey through time. Time travel is the theme of Dreamland and our special subscriber interview on Dreamland. Marie D. Jones is our guest. Her new book. This book is From the Future, a journey through portals, relativity, wormholes, and other adventures in time travel. Today, she and Anne Strieber talk about the future. Is it here now? Is there somebody traveling in time already? Are there time travelers among us? And if so, how can we tell? Don't miss this provocative and very special interview with Marie D. Jones. And then for subscribers, I've had some remarkable experiences in movement through time myself. So I take those to Marie and I say, Marie, what was going on? Plus, I had an experience I've told you about in March of 1983 of moving back in time. Very extraordinary experience on a street corner in New York City. Well, I have found out something incredible about what was happening on that street corner just 100 years before my time travel experience took place. It'll blow your socks off. It sure did mine. So listen up on Dreamland. Anne Strieber and Marie D. Jones, then for subscribers. Marie and have I gone back in time? Can Marie prove it? What else does she know about people who have gone back in time and people who may be coming back to our time? And what about government secrets? There's some incredible stuff in this book about that. So here we go. Anne Strieber, Marie D. Jones. This book is From the Future.
Not a subscriber? You're missing too much. Click on the subscribe tab on unknowncountry.com today.
Now, this book is about time travel, which is, interestingly enough, it's one of my theories about who the visitors are.
Yes.
I think they might be time travelers.
Right.
And let's start with that. What do you think about that?
I'm beginning to add that theory to a lot of things. You know, it's funny because even something like ghosts, we've always looked at that as, oh, ghosts are the spirit of a person who's died. But now there's a lot of theorizing or just thinking and talking about, well, is it possible that we are getting glimpses into the past and future? Same thing with aliens and entities. And I think time, because we're so obsessed with time, we're now introducing it into all of our different paranormal theories, like if you want to call it that. Because we're realizing we're not just talking about the possibility that we're seeing into other realities, but other times.
This could be the case. And, you know, I hate that word paranormal, too, but we can't find...
I do, I know. Let's find a better word.
Yeah, we really need to. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you know, it's very interesting. We've done some Dreamlands on ghosts, and Whitley's new book, Solving the Communion Enigma, is about how he thinks that the aliens, and I hate that word too.
Yeah.
That's why we use visitors, are essentially dead people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, are they alive on another level of reality, though?
Read the book, honey. But
I will.
Listen,
I always think, well, is that final? Is that it?
I don't know, but it's a partial. You know, we're making our way slowly, one
Right.
foot after the other, to a perhaps answer. Now, you know, it's quantum physicists. I've heard them say that time does not really exist. It's just something that's in our minds. And then I've heard other scientists say, well, time started with the Big Bang and everything started moving outwards, and that's why we perceive time. Have you got any answers for us there?
Well, what happened before the Big Bang?
Well, that's true. That's true. Well, there was
nothing. Well, come on, there has to be. Nothing in itself has to have a beginning and an end, and it just makes you crazy. It's like contemplating infinity. Okay, well, where does it end, and what's after that? From a lot of the research that we did for the book, it seems like the human brain is constructed to perceive time in a linear fashion, and it's functional. I mean, it allows us to have a life that makes some kind of sense. We put events and experiences in order. We give them importance, and it gives us a sort of chronology to our lives. Yet outside of the human body, down at the quantum level, at the cosmic level, past, present, and future seems to exist all at once. So we're the ones that are sort of picking and choosing and putting it all into place, like setting up dominoes, because we need to in order to have a functional life.
I was trying to figure out what parallel universes were once. Mm-hmm. And I was in an airport on a people mover. And I was walking on the people mover with my suitcase.
Right.
Other people on the other side were riding on the people mover, and there were people walking on the carpet outside the people mover. So we had 3 streams of people going at different speeds, but all in the same direction. And I thought maybe time is what controls what parallel universe you're in. Now, I haven't run this past any quantum physicists, and I'm just a layperson when it comes to that.
Right.
But does that ring any bells with you?
I love that analogy, and I hope you don't mind, but I'll probably steal it.
Please do, please.
Because you give people a perfect visual for the idea that all 3 of these timelines, where you've got people walking at their regular walking pace, you've got people walking on the treadmill, so to speak, and you've got people that are just standing and letting it take them in its own time. They're all happening. They're all coinciding with each other
simultaneously.
Right, exactly. And yet each one has its own reality, so to speak. Each one happens in its own time frame. Each one will get you to your destination at a little bit of a different time.
And if there were walls around that people mover,
you wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know there were anybody else was there.
And I think that's the case with parallel universes, and now what is being discussed as parallel timelines, alternate timelines, is that we really are not supposed to, I believe this, I think we're not structured, we're not supposed to be fully aware of them because we wouldn't be able to focus on our own, but I do think we get numerous glimpses into those other realities, those other timelines. And again, I hate to use the P word, but that's what we would call a paranormal or maybe an anomalous experience is when we get those glimpses.
Well, after reading 250,000 letters that people sent to Whitley after he put our then mail center address in communion, I came to the conclusion, person after person would say, why was I chosen? But I came to the conclusion that only certain people, for one reason or another, and we think we know the reason, but we won't go into that, but that only certain people could see them. And it might be that only certain people, whether for genetic reasons or whatever, can experience these parallel timelines.
You and I are going to have a long conversation about this because this is really what I'm looking at next and along with Larry's, the idea that what is happening both externally, say environmentally, but also internally, physiologically, that makes certain people able to have an experience and somebody standing right next to them doesn't. What people say, well, why was I chosen? Well, it could be such a combination of different factors. Like you said, genetic could be one. And that's what I want to know. I want to know, is there something in our physiology? Is there something in the environment and external factors? And when they all align perfectly, we're able to perceive what the person standing next to us is not. We're able to look at time differently. We're able to perceive space differently. And that is just, to me, the most fascinating thing right now is trying to figure out what are those denominators that are involved.
Well, the visitor experience is famous for that because you've got three people sitting on a couch and one of them's taken and everybody else is frozen.
Exactly. What is going on?
Yeah.
Now, it's a real experience, but why, why one, not the other? And there has to be reasons. There doesn't have to be, I guess.
Well, there's reasons for everything.
Think it is. Right,
yeah.
Exactly. I don't believe in randomness. So, what are the reasons? And I'm absolutely fascinated by that.
Also, if we could figure out the reasons, then maybe we could time travel.
Yeah. We could do it voluntarily. We could do it at will. I really believe that's what's behind the drive to learn how to master time and time travel especially. We have mastered space somewhat. I mean, we can move about space at will. We're sort of learning how to go to, the moon and whatnot. I mean, obviously we haven't figured out yet how to travel to other universes, although maybe we're doing it in other ways.
We need to know how to go through those wormholes.
Exactly, and surpass light speed. But I think time is the big frustration for human beings because it goes in the arrow of time goes in one direction to us. We always feel like we want to stop that. We want to stop that darn arrow and slow it down and go back and relive this and redo that, and we can't. We're very limited. The structure of our brains and bodies keeps us from doing it. So it's a big frustration and a big drive to master time.
Every quantum physicist I have talked to whom I have asked, is time travel possible? They've all said, yes, it is, but we don't know how to do it yet.
Yes, that's the bottom line.
Yes.
That's the bottom line. I mean, theoretically, they've shown that it can be done, but technologically, we are not at that advanced stage yet. I love, reading Michio Kaku and hearing him talk about the different levels of advanced civilizations and how even 50 years from now, our technology may exponentially increase so much that we don't even recognize it. It might look like magic.
Well, listen, what we can do today would look like magic to people a few
Absolutely.
hundred years ago, and that's very clear.
Right.
What's interesting is one of these quantum physicists said to me, if you had a time machine, it would always be in the room when these beings, these time travelers, were there. You would always see it.
Because it was the modus
Yes.
by which they got there.
But here's what's interesting. If you get up in front of an audience full of abductees and contactees, which I have done, and say to them, how many of you have seen the black box? That's all you have to say.
Mm-hmm.
At least 3/4 of them will raise their hands.
So this is the device.
Well, I'm just guessing.
Possibly.
I'm just guessing.
Right.
But
Well,
but if they are time travelers, then yes, it is.
They have to have a way to get here.
Yeah, well, we have to be able to see their time
That
machine.
is really fascinating.
Yeah.
The idea that it would be a part of the travel itself, the experience itself, by which you got here. So it would have to be somewhere while you were moving around on this level of reality. And that's really fascinating because if technology is the only thing that stands in our way, then I could pretty certainly say that maybe not in my lifetime, but maybe my son's, it'll happen. Because, like you said, the progress of just the last 50 years has been mind-blowing. But theoretically, if we know what to do, that's the big hurdle. So it seems like once we figure that out, it's just a matter of, okay, how do we make the machine, quote unquote? How do we make our black box?
Yes. Well, people say you can't go back in time because you could kill your grandfather.
Right, the paradoxes that make you crazy, absolutely.
Yeah, but the principle of least action shows that's not true because it's the same reason that water does not flow uphill. Right. Nature doesn't expend any more energy than it needs to.
Right.
So you're not going to go back and kill your grandfather. Because that would be nature expending too much energy on something unnecessary.
Right.
And my idea is if the visitors are time travelers,
They're coming from the future.
They're coming from the future, and what they're doing is excuse my language, Marie. This is it's going to be a little X-rated here. But what they're doing, I think, is they're coming back to try to get us to quit fucking up their present with our nasty climate change and nuclear ambitions.
I agree. But boy, can they get a little more forceful, because we seem to keep doing it, don't we?
Yeah, well, they can't be too obvious, or else they'll violate that principle.
Well, let me ask you a question about that, because
I'm supposed to be asking you questions, but go ahead.
Well, because this fascinates me too, because this is involved in what Larry and I were writing about, the morals and ethics of time travel. And the idea that if the visitors are coming back to warn us, at what point, though, do we sort of give responsibility to them to save us? I mean, do you see that?
I don't think they're able to do that.
So
I think that would break too many laws of physics. But I think they're trying to kick us in the rear to get us to do it. Maybe their present will change.
Right.
If they get us to quit our nasty pollution and things.
Right. And that's one of the problems with the paradoxes of going back into the past, is that, there are different paradoxes that suggest that if you go back and change even one tiny little thing,
the butterfly effect, that you will end up you could cause so much damage to so many different people who are affected, cause and effect by your presence, by that change, that you may not even realize what you're doing. You think you're going back and you're just going to, spend that $10 on candy that you didn't spend when you were 5 and end up causing nuclear war in the present. And it's just mind-boggling to think that. But if you do, you look at the butterfly effect and the chain of cause and effect that could be affected by what one human being does. And you realize how interconnected we all are. Hey, and we don't think we're special, but hey, I guess we are.
Yeah, and it really makes you think, okay, now in the present, do we need to be a little more aware of every action that we are taking? Because it affects and influences everybody around us.
Okay, now before we take a break, I'm going to throw a provocative question at you. I don't think you can answer it.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Do you think the Roswell crash was a time travel mistake?
You want me to answer after the break?
Well, we're about to take a break, so let's take it, and then you can think about your answer. We'll be right back.
This is Whitley Strieber. There are strange explosions and flashes of light occurring all over the world right now. Linda Moulton Howe is in the process of doing a study of this for a future edition of Dreamland. Have you heard such an explosion? Do you know of any video that may show such an explosion? Well, if you do, please send information to whitley@strieber.com or to earthfiles@earthfiles.com. This is a fascinating and very, very odd event worldwide that's taking place right now that's similar to the Strange Sounds event that happened last year. So if you can help us, now is the time to do so. And if you're not a subscriber, there's no place else in the world things like this are happening, being reported, being thought about, being worked on this level. So subscribe to unknowncountry.com today. And remember, if you sign up for a year, you'll get a coupon to get a free unknowncountry.com tote bag from the unknowncountry.com store. For 2 years, you'll get a coupon for a free 2013 Crop Circle calendar. Beautiful premium. All you will pay is shipping and a handling charge of $1.50.
Ann Strieber was overweight, 100 pounds overweight. She tried diet after diet, but nothing worked. Then she discovered an extraordinary secret and took that 100 pounds off and kept it off. In her new ebook, What I Learned from the Fat Years, she tells you exactly how to really take off weight and how to keep it off. All kinds of great hints, plus a deep understanding of how diets actually work and why they work. What I Learned from the Fat Years. Diet Wisdom from Ann Strieber. Get it from the unknowncountry.com store. Go to unknowncountry.com and download your copy today.
Plus, there's a nice price break on Fat Years from $4.99 to $2.99, so get it now.
You're listening to Whitley Strieber's Dreamland Online with guest host Ann Strieber.
Hi, Marie. We're back. You got an answer for me?
I do, possibly.
Oh, okay.
It's my good all-purpose answer of possibly.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why I say that is, and I didn't know the story of George Hoover and this, high-ranking official who claimed that he had access to the Roswell wreckage and the aliens and a lot of
Whitley's uncle did. Whitley's uncle did, yeah.
And, this idea that he thought and told his son and another ufologist that they were us from the future, in a sense. And other hints and other people that have made those kind of claims. But at the same time, when you think about it, if we're dealing with visitors that have the technology to get here that we don't have, well, why would it be so out of this world, pun intended, to think that they're from, that they're from the future, that they're from a time when this technology will be available? So I do think it's highly possible. Who knows? But again, it speaks to the idea that they're way beyond our level of technology, and that's futuristic in a sense.
Well, they definitely use quantum technology, something we're just starting to learn about because they walk through walls and things. Yeah, they walk through walls and things, and many people say this. And their ships disappear, and so they're controlling things we don't know how to control.
Right.
And that has to do with quantum physics, which school kids are going to be learning soon.
Oh, can you imagine?
Yeah, and whereas we learn Newtonian physics, and now we know that we may not know enough about quantum physics. We know Newtonian physics is not what's going on.
Right. It's amazing the progress that has been made. So yes, I really think that if we're dealing with technology from the future, and also the idea of parallel universes or the multiverse or other realities that they're coming from, where their timeline is way ahead of ours. So, the alternate timelines that could be occurring. So they're coming from a future that to them obviously is their present, but to us, it's the future.
Boy, that's tough to take in.
It is.
Now, you have on page 17 something very provocative. You say, some people insist they are time travel guinea pigs for a secret DARPA time machine experiment. Now, DARPA is the Department of, what is DARPA? It's a military thing. Go ahead.
Right. A Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency.
Yes.
It took me a while to memorize that.
In other words, some of the dark side of military intelligence, or what we might consider that. Well, who are these people?
There are several individuals out there that are claiming they were, as children, part of a time travel project involving quantum physics and wormholes and a particular object that was like a chair, which became known as the Montauk chair. That they sat in and were sent into the past or the future. And Andy Perro, you've got Andrew Bishago, there's Dan Burrish, several individuals that we touch on in the book, and other people, obviously, they're lecturing, and they've got YouTubes and websites where they're making these very detailed claims about these different projects that occurred. One of them was involving stargates, that there were these literal stargates that were being created that we were able to time travel through.
Well, this would be what we would call wormholes, I think.
Right.
Now,
I wasn't there. I can't say with any certainty whether these people are telling the truth or not, or whether this has happened or not. But some of them have very detailed stories that don't change. And they talk about dates and times and places and what people were wearing. Project Looking Glass, that was the one that involved man-made devices and stargates that could shift timelines. So it's absolutely fascinating. It's what we sort of include as time travel conspiracies because it happens on the down low. These are government or military operations that are not made public, obviously. But, we're very limited with what information we have. There's no proof. So basically, we have to go on the words of these individuals.
And there's a lot of BS out there.
There is. You have to be very discerning, and it's really hard to, again, prove or disprove someone's word. 100%, but, you will kind of lean in one direction or the other.
Well, we did a Dreamland interview a while ago with someone who claims to be a time traveler named David Lewis Anderson. And we'll have a link to that show in the show description of our show here so that people can check it out, subscribers can check it out. And, he has a real foundation, a legitimate foundation where he raises money. Whitley went back and forth. He wasn't sure he was legitimate, but then he came to the conclusion that maybe he is. He has long periods where he seems to disappear. Of course, anybody can do that. So it's provocative.
It is. And again, you feel like, well, okay, I may not believe this right offhand, but then you hear the same details and the same stories, and then other people step forward, and you wonder, okay, we've got brilliant physicists out there that are working on time travel theoretically. Well, what if the government or military, quote unquote, the secret operations that we don't know about are 25 years ahead of the game? What if they have access to research?
The black box.
Right, exactly. So how do we just discount it 100%?
Then there's the Philadelphia
whistleblowers.
Yeah, then there's the Philadelphia experiment, where was a whole ship disappeared with its crew. Now, Whitley checked this out, and he said that basically this ship was seen sailing in the Greek Navy years later. So it did. So that is a bogus report, probably.
It is so full of holes, and yet you still have people to this day that
yes, you do.
That it happened. And
I even heard a fellow talk who was on it, or I forget. He couldn't have been on it, or he wouldn't have been there. But
yeah. It's amazing. And are these people whistleblowers? Are they disinformation specialists? Or are they just crazy? You have to ask, okay, well, which category? And I think sometimes it really just comes down to waiting and seeing what evidence comes forward in the future. With Roswell, my heavens, we still have researchers that are devoting a great deal of time just trying to figure out what happened, because there's so many holes, or there's this theory and that theory, this person saw this person saw that, and you wonder if we're ever really meant to know the entire truth about anything.
Well, I hope we are. I
would like to think that too, unless somebody up there thinks we're not ready for it, which could be the case.
Well, you mentioned time slips, and Whitley and I, or I should say really me, I had one of what time slip specialist, can't remember her name.
Oh, Starfire Tor?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Calls the most famous, why can't I remember her name? The most famous time slip ever. And we reenacted this for the History Channel in a program that she produced. But basically it happened at the Magic Castle, which is a private club where you go to watch magicians. And what happened was, you may know the story, yes. But I don't know if everybody listening does. Basically, Whitley was waiting upstairs, and Starfire and I went into the ladies' room, and I got finished first, so I went out and waited for her. And when we went in, we looked under all the stalls. It was a very small room, and there were only 2 stalls. And you know how you look under to make sure that nobody's in there. So I was waiting out front for her, and a woman came out who had not been in there. And she walked past me, and I was kind of open-mouthed, and then Starfire came out. And well, later when we got to talking, Starfire said, "Oh yeah, I bumped into that lady at the sink." But I said, "Starfire, she was not there. We looked under the stalls. No one was in there." And we even looked for a hidden door, because it was the castle, the Magic Castle.
Right.
But there's no hidden door in the wall. And Starfire went and got the plans, the architectural plans for it and everything.
Amazing.
And later, we described to her friend, the magician, Scott, we described this woman. She had on a very distinctive skirt.
Mm-hmm.
And Whitley saw her come out, too. He saw me waiting there, and he saw her come out. And he said, that sounds like somebody familiar. So we went and knocked on this door, and she opened it, and there she was.
Oh, how funny.
And Starfire said, do you remember me bumping into you at the sink in the lake? She said, oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
So that's Starfire, who should know. Scott Brandon is the name of the magician. Says that's the most famous time slip, but I don't know. There may be others. Do you know of any others?
Right. Jenny Randall's book, she writes about time slips and all kinds of... what's really intriguing to me is the experiences that people have when they're out driving or walking where they sort of enter into a fog.
Oh, yes.
And then they end up 5 hours later, 500 miles down the road. And
that's missing time. That's a classic UFO thing.
Right,
yes.
And somehow they were transported somewhere, and it's like, what the heck am I doing here? And it's, oh my gosh, 5 hours later. And it seems to happen to a lot of people. I mean, you and I have discussed my little missing time experience in Los Angeles, and it seems like if you bring it up, maybe 1 out of 10 people is going to say, oh, I had that happen.
Now,
and
don't just
a couple of the others will
don't
not.
just drop that sentence. Tell us about it. And not everybody
okay.
knows
I
about
was
this.
living in Los Angeles way back when. I was going to see Carl Sagan at the Planetary Society. He was the headline speaker. I was so excited. And I had a couple of situations where I was married at the time, and I couldn't get out the apartment. I kept trying to open the door. And the doorknob wouldn't move, or the door would just stick. It wouldn't open.
Like you weren't meant to go. Or
yeah,
something.
and my husband at the time said, maybe you're not supposed to go.
Oh.
Maybe something's going to happen. And I was like, oh, hell no, I'm going to see Carl Sagan. Excuse me. I had paid money for it. I just was so excited. So anyway, I set out on the 134 freeway. Well, the 101 to the 134 freeway going towards Pasadena. I was in Glendale. And all of a sudden... I'm on the 2 heading north towards Sacramento. 2 hours have gone by. I'm way where I should not be. I have no idea what happened in the last 2 hours. This was at the time when those cell phones had just come out that look like bricks.
Yeah, those huge ones, yeah.
Luckily had one and, panicked, pulled over, called my husband, and he was like, just turn around, get off, turn around, come south, get back on and come home. Do not go see Carl Sagan.
Oh.
And it just freaked me out. But the thing is that while those 2 hours had passed, I had no awareness of anything. And what intrigued me the most is I was still able to navigate the LA freeways without killing myself or anybody else. It's almost as if autopilot took over, and my consciousness just shifted.
Now, have you ever had any memories come back about what happened during that time?
I've never gone and done the hypnotic regression thing because I never had a feeling that it was anything other than just, I don't know, maybe I was so excited I went into a little, mind shift. But I thought about that because I was a member of MUFON at the time and I was very much involved in UFO research, and I thought, okay, are there any signs on my body, anything in the car? So I could be in complete denial, but at the same time, I really felt like there was no reason for me to pursue that until Starfire said...
That's right. She saw you.
Right. Oh, Marie, that's such a notorious area for these things. And then I thought, okay, now maybe I don't want to know. But there's such common experiences, and like I said, 1 out of 10 people will say they had one. Probably 3 or 4 others will just not say it, but they actually had an experience, and they just don't know how to explain it or deal with it.
So maybe we're already time traveling.
We
just can't do it
physically
or intentionally. I would say more. Right. It's more like they were time traveling all the time, but we either don't notice except when something very odd happens.
Exactly.
Or it's just part of life and we just haven't quantified it yet. It's like electricity was in lightning until Ben Franklin figured it out, and Tesla and people took it further, and
the rest is history.
Yeah,
Right, and I think that's where we're at right now because if you think about it, I think we mentally time travel in so many different ways. Memory is a form of time travel.
Yes.
We dream. We have precognitive dreams that come true. We have
yes.
deja vu, where somebody has a past life vision or a precognitive vision, and different psi experiences. I mean, even remote viewing has a time travel elements to it.
Oh, so yes, people remote view the future and
right.
past.
So, okay,
yes.
Why are we able to do it on a mental consciousness level, but we can't get our cloggy bodies to go along for the ride? But I think that that's probably how most technology and knowledge develops, mentally in the mind first, and then we catch up with it physically.
Oh, yes. Well, they have a theory, and then they try and...
Right. So at least we know we're sort of on the right track.
Mm-hmm. Well, Marie, I'm going to stop now and let Whitley talk to you. He's going to share some wonderful time travel stories that have happened to him for subscribers. But I want to end with a wonderful quote I heard at a Laurie Anderson concert, because you mentioned memory.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, the lark's father died. She didn't know where to put him. So she buried him in her mind. And that's how memory began.
Yeah. It's all still there.
Yep.
And we can go back whenever we want.
Yep. That's how we time travel in our memory.
But
maybe we'll be doing it physically soon. Let's hope so. And maybe you already have. Yeah, maybe you already have.
Yeah, very true. Very true. I should probably find out about that.
Well, it was fun talking with you. And
you too.
Whitley's going to talk to you next.
Oh, absolutely. So much fun, Ann. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for talking to me. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Does she know about people who have gone back in time and people who may be coming back to our time? And what about government secrets? There's some incredible stuff in this book about that. So here we go. Ann Strieber, Marie D. Jones. This book is from the future.
Not a subscriber? You're missing too much. Click on the subscribe tab on unknowncountry.com today.
Now, this book is about time travel, which is, interestingly enough, it's one of my theories about who the visitors are.
Yes.
I think they might be time travelers.
Right.
And let's start with that. What do you think about that?
I'm beginning to add that theory to a lot of things. It's funny because even something like ghosts, we've always looked at that as, ghosts are the spirit of a person who's died. But in another level of reality, though.
Read the book, honey.
But I will.
Listen.
I always think, well, is that final? Is that it?
I don't know, but it's a partial, we're making our way slowly, one foot after the other, to a perhaps answer. Now, it's quantum physicists. I've heard them say that time does not really exist. It's just something that's in our minds. And then I've heard other scientists say, well, time started with the Big Bang and everything started moving outwards, and that's why we perceive time. Have you got any answers for us there?
Well, what happened before the Big Bang?
Well, that's true. That's true. Well, there was
nothing. Well, come on, there has to be. Nothing in itself has to have a beginning and an end, and it just makes you crazy. It's like contemplating infinity. Okay, well, where does it end, and what's after that? From a lot of the research that we did for the book, it seems like the human brain is constructed to...
Interview with Marie D. Jones. And then for subscribers, I've had some remarkable experiences in movement through time myself. So I take those to Marie and I say, Marie, what was going on? Plus, I had an experience I've told you about in March of 1983 of moving back in time very extraordinary experience on a street corner in New York City. Well, I have found out something incredible about what was happening on that street corner just 100 years before my time travel experience took place. It'll blow your socks off. It sure did mine. So listen up on Dreamland. Ann Strieber and Marie D. Jones, then for subscribers. Marie and I, have I gone back in time? Can Marie prove it? What else? This is Whitley Strieber, and this is Dreamland. You have reached the edge of the world. Today, we're going on a journey through time. Time travel is the theme of Dreamland and our special subscriber interview on Dreamland. Marie D. Jones is our guest. Her new book. This book is From the Future, a journey through portals, relativity, wormholes, and other adventures in time travel. Today, she and Ann Strieber talk about the future. Is it here now? Is there somebody traveling in time already? Are there time travelers among us? And if so, how can we tell? Don't miss this provocative and very special.
Now there's a lot of theorizing or just thinking and talking about, well, is it possible that we are getting glimpses into the past and future? Same thing with aliens and entities. And I think time, because we're so obsessed with time, we're now introducing it into all of our different paranormal theories, like if you want to call it that. Because we're realizing we're not just talking about the possibility that we're seeing into other realities, but other times.
This could be the case. And, you know, I hate that word paranormal, too, but we can't find...
I do, I know. Let's find a better word.
Yeah, we really need to. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you know, it's very interesting. We've done some Dreamlands on ghosts, and Whitley's new book, Solving the Communion Enigma, is about how he thinks that the aliens, and I hate that word, too.
Yeah.
That's why we use visitors, are essentially dead people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, are they alive on